will be availed once we consolidate and do the required disaggregation of the data by region, by district, by constituency, by wards, and of course by gender. And we will avail that statistic. It's very, very important that the public understand the demographics of the statistics as it pertains to the registration exercise. At this point in time, unfortunately, it's not possible for us to do that. We are just recalling all the kits, and we will plug them into our network, and we'll start that process of consolidation, deduplication, and cleanup, and we hope in the next few weeks we'll be able to give you that data. These processes, ladies and gentlemen, are critical to ensure that we establish a clean and credible register which will be used in 2021 general elections. And I'm sure we will be at that place when we conclude. And this is why we also indicated that the number that has been provided for is a provisional number. And this is also extremely important, especially for you colleagues in the media. After the deduplication and cleanup process, the registered number that we have announced is bound to change. Because if we have duplicate records, those records will be removed. If we have incomplete data, those incomplete data will also be removed. Or if there's anything else that requires to be removed, that will be removed. Allow me also to take this opportunity, of course, to officially announce there is a period for objection which is provided for in our statutes for a period of 90 days. And anybody who knows and feels that it's a particular individual should not be on the register at this particular point in time, as guided by our statutes, where one is a Zambian, a holder of a green national registration card, 18 years of age and above, and does not meet that criteria, you're free to object the inclusion of such a one on the register. You can submit those details. We will, of course, make official announcement to that effect. And there will also be a point in time where the register will also be subjected to the inspection. And we did share with you the calendar last briefing, and I hope that you do make full use of that. As I conclude, allow me to thank all the citizens who turned up in large numbers to register as voters. I think we are deeply humbled as a commission. Prior to the commencement of this exercise, it was deemed as an impossibility by many stakeholders. But yet again, I think we are pleased as a commission, and we wish to express our deepest appreciation to the various stakeholders who contributed to the success of the voter registration exercise. We cannot thank the citizens enough. I think we have demonstrated as a country that we can do it. The work of the Commission, again, would not have been accomplished without the dedicated teams of staff across the country who worked tirelessly throughout this exercise. We had a lot of people that left their comfort of their homes and beds, were sleeping in classrooms, in most remote parts during this rainy season. We also do recognize that we did lose two of our colleagues. These are AROFs, field staff, whilst on duty, who lost their lives, and we extend our sincere condolences to their families, and be rest assured of the Commission's support. We are really grateful for the efforts that you have put in place, and we ensure that as a Commission, we also do our part. We are also pleased that as a nation, we have once again taken our democracy to a greater height. The achievements thus far in terms of the registration exercise, like I always say, colleagues, especially in the media, it's always important to do some research. Just do some analysis and look at what we've been able to achieve as a country, not as a commission, as a country, because this has been a concerted effort. Stakeholders did rise to the occasion. Citizens did rise to the occasion to have themselves registered. and we have indeed registered over 83% of all eligible citizens, above the global average in such a short period of time. I think we all should be proud of this achievement. With that, I thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, CEO, for the briefing. We'll now allow for questions. Those who may have questions, feel free to ask. Any questions? Seems the briefing was comprehensive enough and we don't have any questions. Oh, okay. Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Sindano, the rest of the delegates and my leader colleagues. I'm beginning my question quoting one of the rules of consistence proposed by Eric First, who said, consistency builds reputation. Now, the Electoral Commission of Zambia projected to register 9 million voters. And with this shortfall, there are concerns from other stakeholders saying that this space has gone against its threshold, and this is indeed detriment to democracy. So, how are you affected in terms of reputation at this debate because of that? Then, secondly, there are also some other stakeholders saying about the Constitutional Court ruled in 2018 that prisoners are eligible to vote. There is no legal instrument to actualize that process. So I just wanted your comment on that.
Okay, any other questions? Yes?
That's it, just
Yes, you can go ahead.
Yes, my name is David. My question is just an addition to what you said about civil voting. We're not yet aware of which candidate or which category of elections the inmates will participate in. Yeah, one level. And also the second question is your findings. And the last time I checked, you told us that you were investigating the child registration. That child that was portrayed in social media. Have you established whether that child was registered?
Were you here in the last briefing? Clearly. I think we tackled that question.
Okay, any other question? We can take one more. Okay, maybe CEO response to those.
Okay, I'll ask our legal counsel to respond to the other question on the prisons voting in reference to no legal instrument to actualize the Constitutional Court judgment. But before he comes in, let me speak to the reputational risk as is indicated based on our projection of 9 million. Yes, indeed. I think we did also speak to this in the last briefing. 9 million was the initial projection by the Commission, and this was based on extrapolation of the 2010 census. But since we've been corrected by the Zambia Statistical Agency, and they did issue a briefing to that effect, they did undertake a survey, and indeed they did take into account other parameters which they do scientifically, economic, social, and indeed demographic, internal migrations, and so on. And they did indicate that the current statistics are 8.4 million in terms of what is the eligible voters. And we are not the authority when it comes to national statistics. Ours was an extrapolation. So nonetheless, I think we were happy that we did overstate the eligible voters, because it did allow us to plan adequately. Because when you're planning, you need to plan for more, not less. As per constitutional requirement, every eligible voter has the right to exercise in terms of them being registered, and we cannot differentiate anybody. So when we talk about a target, we are talking about what the law provides for. We cannot undercut a target. So if the law provides that everybody who's 18 years and above, a holder of a green national registration card, should be eligible to vote, it implies that us as a commission, when you look at the demographics of our country, and they state that it is 8.4 million, that becomes our target. We can't say, no, our target is going to be 7 million. No, then we'll be breaching the statutes, because we need to ensure that everybody's rights is upheld. In terms of reputation risk, 8.4 million against the 7,020,000 that has been captured. I did speak to these numbers. I think anybody who is objective and rational, and this is why we always say, please do a bit of research. Look at what is the trend in terms of registration globally, including developed democracies in the world. There's nowhere country in the world that has been able to capture all eligible voters. If you find one, please bring it over. I see how they've been able to do that, including those countries that have legislation that makes it compulsory for people to register. Ours, it's optional. But you also need to take into account other factors. Out of the eligible population, you have the constituency that is in the diaspora. So you can't have 100%. Out of that, you have people that have different beliefs in terms of faith, that do not participate in electoral processes. Out of that, you also have people that just have apathy, that don't want to participate. So to think that you'd be able to get 100%, and if you don't get, you're basically undermining the legitimacy of the process, when as a country, we've been able to go and surpass the global average. Really, we need to be proud as a country. And this is where we extend our gratitude. As I said in my briefing, this was a task that was considered an impossibility by many stakeholders, including yourselves, colleagues in the media. You questioned whether this could be done in this period of time. But yet again, we have been able to do it. As a nation, not as a commission, together. Stakeholders did come out, citizens did come out, and they did queue up long hours to ensure that they exercise their right to vote through being registered. And we are very grateful and humbled by that. 83.4% registered voters is something that we all need to be proud of when you compare to the current register that we all wanted to hold on to, which is at 63%. Honestly, what is better of the two? Honestly speaking. So really, we have done well, and I think if anything to go by, this is actually a reputational enhancement on our part, and it's something that we hope to build on and ensure that the deduplication process and cleanup remains credible. We also need to ensure that we are transparent in the processes that we do. We will be disaggregating the data so that we provide everything that it needs to be known. Where are people registered? What is the demographic? What is the gender makeup of the registration? And so on. So once the cleanup is done, we consolidate the data, we'll provide that information moving into 2021. We'll also be providing additional information, among them the result flow, in good time. We want to make sure that by the time we get to the election, the citizenry know what the Commission is doing and the processes that will lead up to 2021 elections. And this is very, very important. And the partnership with you colleagues in the media will be extremely important in this regard. We want somebody to know, to be able to account for your vote. How is your vote going to move? Should be able to track it. And this is why we've been even changing from streams to polling station. All this data will make available, and it will be pasted on each polling station. Once you vote, that result will be there already. Even you yourselves can become tabulators of the vote, so that it's transparent. Whoever wins 2021 wins on merit. Us as a commissioner, our mandate is to announce whoever takes the day with no bias whatsoever. But to be able to do that, we need to ensure also that the environment allows for such a process of acceptability of the result. Part of that is availing information and being open and transparent with the processes. And moving forward, we will make sure that you work with us every step of the way so that the public are aware of what it is we are doing. Category of inmates. For your sake, I'll go back to this. I think we did discuss this issue. For this purpose, this was basically for voter registration exercise. The Commission did undertake consultation with different stakeholders, including political parties, the Association of Zambia, the judiciary, service chiefs, among others that were consulted on the guidelines. And this is under the lead of the Zambia Law Development Commission, who have been leading this process. And the guidelines are finalized, taking into account those inputs of the different stakeholders, and then we'll go back to them and say this is a final for purposes of the pause. But for the purpose of registration, we are well guided, and I think it links to the question that was raised, saying that no legal instrument to actualize the process, and I'll ask legal counsel to speak to that.
Okay, thank you, CEO. The starting point that we need to appreciate that the Constitutional Court, which is a court of final jurisdiction, the same way that the Supreme Court has final jurisdiction, made a pronouncement on the matter. And the court effectively expunged the provisions of Section 9 of the Electoral Process Act that has placed restrictions on persons in lawful custody insofar as voting is concerned. You may wish to note that the court based its decision on the provisions of Article 46 of the Constitution, which gives a criteria of eligibility for persons to vote and also register. And you'll notice that Section 9 of the Electoral Process Act that I've referred to has sought to place restrictions which the Constitution under Article 46 does not prescribe. And in terms of Article 1 of the Constitution, there is supremacy of the Constitution. And in terms of supremacy of the Constitution, if an act of Parliament contravenes a provision of the Constitution, then to the extent of inconsistency, that provision cannot be allowed to stand. And so that was the basis of the position taken by the Constitutional Court. And as we are aware, Constitutional Court is a final court, and so we had to proceed on the basis of the position taken by the Constitutional Court.
Thank you, legal counsel, well guided. I hope you are able to follow through the legal jargon. So,
do we have any more questions?
So in brief, in short, we are on firm ground with regards to registering inmates, and we are well guided by the Constitutional Court ruling and the provisions of the Constitution in terms of registering persons in lawful custody. And of course, there was no requirement for a legal instrument to be able to do that.
Thank you, CEO. I guess we've come to the end of the briefing, but CEO is available. Maybe you can give an opportunity to the one. Yeah, so maybe if you'd like to see CEO, you can see him. Thank you so much for coming.